we thought someone was looking out for us. My dad's suffering as a result of this stuff. You don't die acutely. Why wouldn't you do the right thing? God damn it. There's a lot of greenwashing. These have been already connected: testicular disease, kidney cancer, endometriosis. We are being bombarded with all kinds of shit right now. So it's just like, what the hell? All it takes is one badass to kick some ass. No one believed that we could put such a complicated formula together. We're making billions of dollars. It's ridiculously hard to do what we did. Now it's surpassed well over $4 billion in sales. What can you do? Easy. You've got to.
Today's special guest is none other than Darin Olien. Many of you will be familiar with Darin's work on the Emmy Award Winning Netflix #1 documentary called Down to Earth, where he traveled the world with Zac Efron and looking at the most incredible insights around food. Look, we go deep today on fatal conveniences, what your cell phone is doing to your brain. Please do not miss this. The toothpaste that you're using, all the products that you're using, the water you're drinking and showering in. He shares some absolute gold that you just need to know as a leader of yourself and as a leader of family and as a leader of others. He also founded Shakeology, a $4 billion company. Darin is one special human. You're in for a treat, so please sit back and enjoy the show. Well, Darin, a huge welcome to the Lead on Purpose podcast.
Hey, thanks, James. I'm stoked to be here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Look, for those that are listening or viewing, I would say the majority of them are very familiar with your name, your face, your voice. The award-winning, Emmy Award-winning Netflix documentary Down to Earth, alongside your good friend there, Zac Efron, has made its way around the globe, and it's really highlighted people's awareness around food, around the environment, around the incredible things that you're passionate about. And I would really love to go deep today. You know, I was introduced to your work via your first book, SuperLife, which really shifted my thinking around what was achievable for me to get the right stuff into my body in an easy way. But then Fatal Conveniences, your most recent book, I mean, my alarm bells went off when I seen this come up. I was like, wow, mobile phone in the bedroom, using dental floss, the water that I drink, the simple things that I use day to day. Wow, I didn't realize just the toxicity of them. So I'm excited to jump in there and talk about that. But I guess the first thing I'd love to ask you is around Shakeology. I'd like to talk about your entrepreneurial side. What inspired you to go down that route, and how did that end up going for you?
Yeah, this was, a long time coming in a certain sense. My, there's always challenges have silver linings, and I think that is largely life, right? There's rubs that rub us and challenge us, and sometimes even hurt us in those acute moments. And this was also the same for me. I got hurt playing American football, and that started the first spark that I literally took my education and university on as something self-needed. So learning about the body and nutrition sparked this very curious side of myself. And I didn't realize I was entrepreneurial. I never thought about it. I didn't think I was a type of person that was like that. But the more I saw things, the more I learned about things that I didn't think was right. The supplement industry is riddled with, sales and marketing that absolutely do not even match, sometimes not even close, and sometimes don't even have the compounds in it that they're trying to sell. And unfortunately, the snake oil kind of world still exists, marketing to our insecurities. So for me, the more I learned and saw kind of the disconnect between what a bottle or a supplement or a food said and what was actually in the package or bottle or whatever it was, it wasn't equating. So there was this moment where I just was like, let me look into this. And I'm like, am I the only one kind of staring at this? And it was that first big impulse that said, if I'm seeing this and I know what I know, I got to go kind of, and I'm playing with these botanicals. I'm learning, I'm expanding, I'm getting involved. And I'm like, well, how is it that we're marketing these things and they're actually not providing, many of them potentially not providing any benefit to somebody other than just taking their money away from them? So I dove into this innocent kind of travel of, let's go to the places of origin of some of the things I was already looking into in South America and the Andes and the Amazon, things like Unadagato and Dragon's Blood and Maca and Sasha Inchi and Camu Camu, and like the list continues to grow. So I showed up in these places. So in the pursuit, just making a quick story quicker, in the pursuit of that, I was like, wow, it was really the inspiration of many people didn't even know about these things, and they have such a history of benefit. Then could I then work directly with these people to understand how to preserve this constituent full of benefit, and then literally get in upon it, tell that story directly and transparently. And this was in 2003, right? So uh that started this, like, I got to create my own stuff because I don't see anyone doing it like this. So in that pursuit, I got contacted by the company Beachbody, which was largely a workout company. And in 2006, they hired me to create a meal replacement, but then gave me no limits as to what kind of formula I could put together. And so I looked at it from a question. I'm like, well, what are we lacking as a society? Nutrient density, of course. What do we require? Well, we require adaptability. So stress response, adaptation, functionality. So it was really one of the first kind of understanding through that question that we started putting these very complex formulas together. And then, of course, a year of just making it taste good without compromising and getting into the fatal conveniences of flavorings and all of that stuff, where we would take on the testing of this stuff. So, cut to that launched in 2008, and from 2008 until now, it's surpassed well over $4 billion in sales. And there's no
Amazing.
way I could possibly imagine that were to happen. And of course, now everyone's trying to copy and just use the names of these botanicals. But again, the very thing that I was trying to prevent is the very thing that people now are trying to copy, and just suppliers throwing whatever in at not understanding the indigenous farmer support system, not understanding how to preserve these things, not testing the efficacy, and also not testing the safety protocols of quality control. So, not saying that all companies are doing that, but I've been in this world for a long time. It just, many companies fail at doing basic things.
100%. And what I love about what I've heard there is it started with a problem that you personally had, and you started to look for solutions, but then you were going deeper than, hey, I can get a fast, quick solution, or I can do the right thing. I can go and visit the farmers and meet the indigenous peoples and see how they use it, how they grow it, how they harvest it. How can we support them? Not every company or leader thinks like that. But then look at I would call it karma almost. You look at the sales, that reflects the intention and the wholehearted approach you had at the start.
Yeah, well, I mean, you start innocently, and I started with a common sense thing. I wasn't coming from that industry. I was in it because I was seeing it from the outside in, and so therefore it just made sense to me to work directly to the people. It made sense to me to I come from, Minnesota. I come from a family that came over on a covered wagon. I came from farmers and things like that. So it made sense to me to meet the people. And then when you get to test it, now listen, I also, super supportive by a multi-billion-dollar company that had the faith and trust in a few of us, because really at the time no one believed that we could put such a complicated formula together and even sell it, right? So we were renegades in that way, and to be able to do it right without the constraints was this kind of juggernaut possibility. And then you just tell the real story, right? You just share it. And we have, millions and millions of dollars on quality control that's spent every year to make sure that what you don't want in that product is not there and what you want in that product is there. So that just for me, like, why wouldn't you do the right thing? Like, it just like, because I think that I love capitalism. I love the ability to see something, go after it, understand the science of tenacity, the science of business, the science of wealth. I love all of that because it's us, and it's learning, it's growing, it's expanding. I think that the pursuit, we are always pursuing greatness. We are always, if you look at nature, nature is evolving, nature is expanding, nature is abundant and wealthy. You plant one seed, you get a tree. You get a tree full of fruit, and that fruit has thousands and thousands of seeds. So if we act in accordance with nature, then that is also our pursuit. So don't undercut yourself. It's like the same thing of like, okay, I want to have this tree grow faster than what I think nature can do. So I want to spray it full of chemicals to force it into a thing. And then, of course, now that side effect starts to build up not only on you, but the downstream effect that it has. So just as a muse of what we're talking about here, there's no shortcuts, but at the same time, there is massive benefit of staying true and then using that kind of that quantum support that will come to you uh, even when it's going to be hard. It's ridiculously hard to do what we did. It is not just do it and all of a sudden we're making billions of dollars. No, it's ridiculously difficult to have the right team together. So I'm grateful for that success. And it's like then you go, okay, what else can we do and what else can we create?
I love that inspires you to keep growing and being abundant in your approach. And I'd like to talk about fatal conveniences. So this is your latest book, and I'm definitely going to put a link in the show notes. So for the listener, you'll definitely want to get a copy of this, probably multiple for the people that you love, because this is the difference between, potentially, I look at this, the difference between life and death, or at least an abundantly healthy life versus a stale, toxic life. And these things show up every day. This is not the 1% of people that are using these things that we're going to talk about. This is 99.9% of people that use these things. So what are fatal conveniences?
Yeah, I mean, this was a fun and very difficult journey to take, but this was again, a common sense thing. Fatal conveniences are things that you're doing every day that you stopped questioning. And in the stop of the question, in the lack of investigation of the blue jeans you're putting on, the laundry detergent you're using, the shampoo you're using, the lotion you're using, the dental floss you're using, the cologne, the processed food, we stopped questioning, and then we pushed that awareness off to this invisible corporation or this idea that some, omnipresent kind of organization has tested the efficacy and safety that really our mothers would really be taking on. As babies, they are our omnipresent protector. Our fathers are obviously too. But then as we grow, we are now have our own sovereign agency to make choices. And so the book is this understanding that I had 30 years ago with a father that was a high functioning, very brilliant, bright, empathetic guy that started suffering when I was in the 90s from multiple chemical sensitivity. And he was a university professor, among other things, and he was starting to educate his family, us, on going, what, I can't be around you if you have these, you know, if you washed your hair with this kind of shampoo, if you washed your clothes in this, if you put this deodorant on. I'm like, these cleaning products in the carpet. Like, what do you mean, Dad? Right? So this whole thing of like my dad suffering as a result of this stuff uh, educated me to be aware that there is largely uh, hundreds of thousands of chemicals that are created every year that have not been product tested. And so this invisible elephant in the room of our modern day world is something that we need to just wake up to so that we're not a victim to it. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly, because we have a growing level of ovarian problems, endometriosis for women, plummeting testosterone, inability for sperm to work. Great researchers in this space, Dr. Shanna Swan, Dr. Leo Tersande, many people I've met along the way of doing 2.5 years and 20 researchers in this space. We have forever chemicals and PFAS. We have petrochemicals and pesticides and herbicides. We've got phthalates. Uh, we've got all of these things that are undercutting the very fabric. Now, I'm going back to the very thing that I was talking about within formulation. If you start divorcing nature and using, fragrances that are not tested, loopholes of flavoring systems or flow agents in a lotion or whatever that is, if you start getting out of that and chemicalizing all of these things and then using those and haven't been proven safe, which they have not, of all of those chemicals, there's actually about 60 to 80,000 produced every year. There's maybe 1,000 that are tested just one-on-one, barely, and barely in the world usage. Usually in the world's use of them is a lot more than what they've tested it for.
Wow.
So there, it's this whole, it's a long way of saying that we have all of these modern conveniences that we thought someone was looking out for us. We thought, in the US, we thought our FDA was, we thought the USDA was, we thought the telecommunications was being regulated with the amount of radiation that we are creating, the polarized radiation. We think people are doing safety data, when in fact they use this very powerful tool of lobbying and plausible deniability. Plausible deniability is something to where if we don't test our specific product, we then don't know if it's actually harmful. And only upon overwhelming data and evidence or a outing by a publication or media, then they go in and then they change the formula. And these things it's completely the opposite. So if you look at this stuff, it's basically the opposite world, right? It's a twilight zone for all of us that remember the Twilight Zone. You're looking at this going, wait a minute, that baby bib that you're giving your child and you're putting around, and so when they spill their food and it's easy to wipe off, that's full of a forever chemical. Not all of them, but a lot of those baby bibs, and also their diapers full of fragrances, and by the way, the whole thing is a petrochemical, of petroleum, phthalates, and very sensitive tissue, and in the reproductive areas of our bodies, not to mention any part of the skin, is a transdermal effect of chemicals coming in the body. That I was just alarmed that 30 years later, it's only gotten worse for people like my dad. And even if you're not sensitive, you're still being affected by the stuff. And so we're getting hit with chemicals all over the place from day one, of from water to in our shower, to what we put on our clothes, to the cleaning products. And so that's my long intro to Fatal Conveniences.
I love it. I mean, if there's any human on the planet that doesn't want to get this book, I think they're crazy, because we need to have better quality lives. When we look at the statistics around autoimmune disease, inflammation, it's through the roof. So I want to get a little bit tactical for a second. A few different things we'll look at, but number one is water. So a lot of us consume water a lot, whether it's pure water from the tap, whether it's in coffee, tea, whether it's in other products, and we shower or bathe in water. So fluoride, chlorine, the list goes on. There's other things in there, right? What should we be doing? In fact, let's start with the negative. What is in the water in a lot of places around the world, and what can we do to get better quality water?
Yeah, the big one that you mentioned, the blatantly obvious duping that we've had to buy into this, even in the first world, saying that we need fluoride in the water. Of all things in the world, we're going to mandate fluoride in the water to what? Improve our teeth, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, fluoride comes as a byproduct of the pesticide and herbicide industry, as well as the aluminum industry. So it is a fluoride that is not a biologically assimilative fluoride. Now, listen, we get natural fluoride from the earth. But when we chemicalized it, and it's as a byproduct, it's a completely different molecular structure. So a lot of the research, what we found, was connected to neurological disorders. And so we've put it in our toothpaste, we've put it in our water. So again, this is a rabbit hole. The history of, I've got into so much history that I couldn't put into the book, of so many things that I just had to condense down. But the history of fluoridization is very fascinating. And then you have to keep that water safe. Now let's also say, we're very lucky. For the most part, most people can turn on a tap and have on-demand water. It's incredible, right? It's incredible advancement. So the municipalities have a very basic job. And that job is so that you don't, when you use that tap and you get the water, that you don't die acutely of diarrhea, dysentery, typhoid, all of that stuff. So they use things like UV, healthy UV radiation, or they use chlorine. And then they have to test to make sure they have enough chlorine to make it all the way, because you think what's in the pipes that come from all over the place, you think that that's clean. Stagnant water breeds bacteria, right? So it's also the chlorine interacting with other compounds, making carcinogenic compounds. So you have this secondary effect, plus pesticides, herbicides, pharmaceuticals, PFAS. Half of the United States is affected by PFAS in the water, right? So PFAS is a forever chemical. So currently there's no way to get rid of it. Wow. This is a very dangerous. PFAS originally was that non-stick layer on a pan that you could put an egg on and it wouldn't stick. Well, wow. That is a fluorine gas that they used to then seal it on surfaces so it's heat resistant, it's stain resistant, and it's slippery. So now you use it on you put it around leather and leather seats. You put it on stain resistant carpet, stain resistant mattresses. You put it on waterproofing clothing. You put it on the baby bibs. You put it in makeup so it doesn't wipe off. We are just blasting ourselves with these forever chemicals that bioaccumulate in your body. And what do they start to do? They start bombarding your body. These have been already connected to testicular disease, kidney cancer, high cholesterol, ovarian endometriosis, endocrine disrupting. So this endocrine disrupting starts to interfere with your master glandular system, which then starts to send off all kinds of thwarting systematic effects, which then have downstream effects, which then it's hard to target where all of this came from, which is why I'm trying to raise the alarm of the more you start. So all of this stuff's in the water, plus many other compounds that are interacting with other compounds that are dangerous. So just sticking to that, what can you do? Easy. You've got to filter your water. It's not just filter. Every filter is the same. The best is wipe it clean. You can reverse osmosis, which is a small micron filter, and it forces water through it, and it doesn't allow those compounds to go into it. So it becomes low total dissolved solids, or TDS. Distillation, evaporate it and it recondenses, doesn't allow it to travel with it. So therefore, there's two easy solutions: to get a glass bottle so you're not interacting with phthalates and petroleum and plastic and all of that other stuff, and potentially other PFAS, and reinfecting your water. The other important thing is, because you've stripped it out in the body, we are electromagnetic, we are electrolytes, we are saltwater beings. That's osmotic flow in order for hydration to happen. So use unrefined salt to build that water back up, a pinch of it per glass. You can use things like Shilajit. Some good Aussie friends of mine created an amazing company called Manav Vitality, where they got the highest, cleanest source of Shilajit, which is plant-based minerals, ancient ooze, as well as deep ormus, deep sea minerals. And you can combine that. That's like high level, incredible stuff. Also boosts, there's studies showing that it helps boost testosterone. Again, so when you fortify your body, what happens? The opposite happens. We then come online again. The power of nature, when we take a pause from this chemicalized version of products that we're exposed to, and or the industrial healthcare complex that says you're kind of broken always and you need a pill or a shot in order to be healthy as your first line of defense, is insane, right? So we need to fortify following nature. And so I want to raise the alarm of like, hey, this is just one step at a time. Clean your water up. Put a shower filter on. Most of the charcoal filters that you could put on the water will pretty much take away most of the heavy stuff. So that's an easy fix. Hell, for 40, 50 bucks, you can put that on your filter. Now, if you want to spend a little more on all the water coming in, there's home water filter systems. I recommend that. Even in my rebuild process of my property, the yurt that I built, boom, one of the first purchases I had was a home water filter system for my yurt. So that's
and
how
reverse
I'm,
osmosis. That's the one.
and reverse osmosis for the water that I drink. So,
Okay.
and I have vortexers to mimic nature and the structuring of water and the energizing of water. So
Wow.
water for me has been a passion for 20 years. So I love that kind of stuff. And then from there, you can kind of keep going. What you're putting in your mouth is less exposure by, eliminating ultra processed food, because ultra processed food, we're starting to see the plasticizers showing up in. We're starting to see phthalates showing up in, because wrapping the food is a very dangerous thing. So when you're buying processed food and it's wrapped in plastic and it's even your Starbucks coffee, that's not 100% cardboard. If it was 100% cardboard coming against hot liquid, what do you really think would happen to the
Gonna fall
fibers?
apart pretty quick, right?
Absolutely. So what's in there? Lines of plastic. So you're having hot liquid connected to plastic and other chemicals that it took to make that perfectly colored uh, thing. And so we think we're free. So bring your own cup, bring your own thing. These are powerful things. Don't underestimate the power of small choices added up over time will change your life, right? I guarantee if you changed your water and added the electrolytes and you started drinking that water every day, number one, you wouldn't drink as much. I still say most people, 10% of first world countries are not even drinking an ounce of water a day. It's shocking how little we're drinking water. 2 billion people in the world don't even have access to clean water, and we're not even drinking it. We're reaching for our coffee because we're lacking energy. And dehydration, one of the number one causes of or side effects of energy. So it's like, well, what are we doing, right? So we have to clean that water up, electrolyze that water with good electrolytes, good salts, and then boom, you've changed a massive part of your life, and that will increase your focus, increase your energy, increase the get rid detoxification pathways, lymphatic systems will open up. Like it is literally magic when you just do powerful choices. And then as you start to grow in your awareness, don't be overwhelmed. That's a lie. We don't live life, we are being bombarded with all kinds of shit right now. So minimize your exposure of all of this crap, right? Be informed, yes. But most importantly, be informed with you and your family and what are you doing? What's in your environment? Get a strong unit and then help your tribe, help your village, help your town, and be a powerful catalyst of health. And that's how things change. And when we start buying better products, we're all, many of you as entrepreneurs, don't cut corners, work hard, do the right thing. And then people will trust you. They will come to you and continue to do the right thing so that you can go to sleep at night knowing that you're not cutting corners, knowing that you're providing a great service, because that's all it is. It's not putting money ahead of everything else. That's where everything goes sideways. Put the service ahead of everyone else, and then understand the economics of it so that you don't do something and lose money. Right? Clearly that doesn't help anybody. So as entrepreneurs, to find each other, find the companies doing great things. We need to, the people that can afford it, let's buy those products. Let's support each other that can support each other. And then as the economics start to come down because of supply chain and because of the numbers and people buying and prices coming down, I know today entrepreneurial people that have scaled companies from 0 to 7 years working with the biggest companies on the planet because they weren't compromising. People going anti-plastic containers, working with ConAgra, McDonald's, Walmart, Pepsi, in a span of a few years because they were all in committed to solving a major problem that everyone else was like, well, it just doesn't exist. The package just doesn't exist. So I'm just not going to do anything. I'm not going to change anything. And all it takes is one badass to kick some ass and not stop. And that's how we change things.
You're so right. And it's interesting. I think it's important that we do highlight the good guys and good gals. So a friend of mine started an amazing company because here in Christchurch, in New Zealand, because she wanted to rid the world of plastic bottles. And when I watched Down to Earth, you guys came down to Australia and you were going through a factory And it was amazing. Her brand showed up. It was on the shelf. It's called Ethique. Some people might pronounce it Ethique, but essentially her mission was to stop shampoo bottles and come up with a shampoo bar. Now she's got shampoo bars, soap bars. She's got moisturizers, all natural, no fragrances, amazing. And not only has she made an incredibly profitable business, multiple $multi-million business, she has saved, I think, $7 million bottles, plastic bottles. She's donated several million to the planet in terms of helping organizations. She's a great example, Brianne West, that has done something to make a difference, but also make a profit. We're not saying to be a charity here. You don't have to.
Yeah. No, I listen, you have, it's hard to do a business. It's hard to create anything. So you got to be passionate about it, because that's what's going to pull you through the hard part of building anything. And then when you have nonprofits, like, I largely, like, of course, I support nonprofits even to this day because it's hard freaking work. That's where I really believe in. She's a perfect example. I really believe in this conscious capitalism, not a flippant word. I believe in, like, doing the right thing and having the right business acumen and support around you, knowing where your weaknesses are, finding people to amplify what you're not good at, and no competition. That's the thing. There is so much good that can be done without this delusion that we need to be competing against each other. I guarantee you, almost in every category, it's still wide open to do the best product, the healthiest product, the best eco product, the best sustainable product, whatever it is, the best service product. It still exists almost in every category you can possibly imagine. And if there is someone doing it, if they're making multi-millions, no one's even heard of them still. So it doesn't matter. So just do the right thing and double down on the right thing. And that's where we can really shine and curb. And then that pushes back. Naturally, being successful pushes back because it says, well, we don't put this in, we don't put that in, we don't put this phthalate, we don't put this fragrance, we don't put this flow agent, we don't put this carcinogen. They're not talking about other people. It naturally pushes back on other people because they can't say that.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where, and you got to be careful. There's a lot of greenwashing. I was about to talk to a big clothing company, and they, had all these ESG goals and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, okay, we're doing a documentary in the fashion industry right now. And I was like, wow, I've never heard of them. That's strange that I haven't heard of them and they're this big. I looked at them, I'm not going to out them right now, but it took me 10 seconds to look on their website. I clicked a couple obscure, like, outfits they had, immediately saw, okay, they're trying to upcycle and all that stuff, but the petroleum and rayon and polyurethane this. I'm like, there's not a chance in hell. I don't even care that they're saying it's upcycled. You're still putting it on your body from my perspective, and it's not all organic, it's not all this. So I'm like, they're using the spinning, the fronting of we're sustainable and we're great, but then when you actually look underneath it, they're not doing it at the level that they need to, and it's still duping the people because they're still being exposed to the very thing that they shouldn't be exposed to. So these are, like, the shirt that I have on is 3 Argentinian brothers that started this company called Industry of All Nations. They work directly with people in India and Argentina and Central America, and all of those manufacturers have been waiting for people to do the right thing. So it's all natural, every direction. Even their buttons aren't even plastic. They're like recycled shells, and all of the dyes are natural, all of organic cotton. Like I'm like, finally, someone is doing it from all directions, right? And it's like that's where we need to push and show people and tell people that this is the right thing to do. And then marketing writes itself because you get to stand up and just go, this is the right thing. Here's the transparency. This is what we're doing. We're proud to do it. We've busted our ass to do it so that you can have a great product. God damn it, if that shouldn't be the way we all do it. So let's stop buying into this freaking idea that we have to put the God of profit over the health and safety of us. And let's stop giving our money to those industries, to those corporations that are doing that. Let's look for alternatives. And yes, they may be more expensive. So don't buy as much. Buy one instead of 5 new t-shirts next year. Buy one that's a higher quality, that's healthier for you. Buy an underwear that's organic and not leaching, formaldehyde and azo dyes and endocrine disrupting on your genitals. Like let's be integrated. So I think my book and my passion with business, because I find companies all the time, or they reach out and I scrutinize them, or I get involved with them, or I like to support them. It's we need to come together as that tribe. There is no person out there causing this, right? It is an industry that we are all born into, and somewhere along the line, someone started squeezing profits, and then it's death of healthy or a great product by 1,000,000,000 cuts. And so that original tea bag was the herbalist used to drop off the loose leaf tea to the villagers, right? And then some guy said, well, let me put it in this little cotton so it doesn't fall all over. And he started dropping that off to the villagers. And then one villager says, well, it's all loose and I gotta like filter it out. So they just put the the little cotton into the hot water, and then eventually they made a little cotton sachet, and then down the line, now they're so it doesn't rip, they're making it out of freaking plastic.
Madness.
So it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I want this organic and green sencha tea, and I put it in. It's got a beautiful package on it. It looks green. It even says organic, and then that freaking tea bag is leach in hot water, leaching petroleum, plastics. I don't think you were signing up for that tea.
Hell no. It's this. What comes to mind when you say that, Darin, is this: common sense isn't always common practice. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
It's madness. And I'm those 3 brothers, I'm going to get the details and pop it in the show notes for people that want to get clothes that are better. I just want to highlight something, and I'm going to be conscious of our time as well here, but if we think of every single listener that's listening right now or watching this, every single one of them is doing it on some form of device, a phone, a computer. Some of them might be like this with the phone right there, or the computer. Darin, what are these phones and devices doing? Is there any fatal convenience kind of stuff happening on that front?
Oh, how long do you have? Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. I learned about this 25 years ago. Research showed me the electromagnetic fields radiation as it was relating to first some of those studies relating to the distortion of, because we're electric, and the DNA sends signals to the RNA to tell the RNA how to create the proteins after autophagy has happened and cellular uptake and the metabolic pathways. So the DNA is constantly communicating electrically to the RNA and all these things. So it scared the shit out of me that first. I'm like, so that's where his original theories were around glioma showing up, tumors next to the head. And now there's hundreds of studies showing glioma responses, tumor interaction as it relates to proximity, phones next to and on the head, and duration. This is where it all comes into play. So every so often, not much of a big deal, but it's constant and always, right? And close to us. So
So
if you
this is by
take
our
a,
beds, like lying by our beds at night. That's an issue, right?
that's an issue. So also the Wi-Fi router. Here's an easy takeaway. Wi-Fi routers are emitting a frequency all the time. And this is in that spectrum of microwave. So, so this with the cell phone, even Bluetooth, these are stress responses in the body. If you take away one thing, it shows stress responses. How does it show that? Many studies show the free radical oxygen species that's created. So free radicals, everyone's heard of free radicals. When your body's under stress from a chemical exposure, from an environmental exposure, from hell, we can create them even psychologically. We can create stress responses of free radicals. So that microwave radiation with proximity and duration creates free radical oxygen species. So that's a danger. Proximity and duration also shows that it's opening up the blood-brain barrier, which allows for proteins that are not in the blood, circulating in the blood and not supposed to be in the brain. But since that barrier got opened with that exposure from the polarized radiation, even non-ionizing, then that creates a whole kinds of cascade effects within the brain. And we have no idea because, again, this is a rabbit hole. We should have been doing studies ever since. We have the telecommunication companies should have put out real data, but they've pushed it off. And they, again, use plausible deniability. They use a term called SAR, and they use thermal. So they use this old data saying, well, it doesn't burn you. So they're not taking into the effect frequency and electromagnetic fields. So you can create a great company in the US called Tech Wellness. They have a lot of mechanisms that you can use to not only get a very cheap EMF reader, and you take the invisible and you make it visible. You just turn this on, there's a sound, and you will hear it. You will hear the amount of frequency around you. So what can you do? Don't ever take a phone up to your head. Never do it. It's just not a good idea. Don't keep a live phone in your pocket. Please, women, do not put a live phone in your bra. Just do not do that. Turn it off or put it on airplane mode when it's on your body. The small print in all of the phones is they're never were meant to put up to your you're supposed to be at least 9 centimeters away from your body at all times, right? And no one knows that, right? So that's a little loophole. I am currently wearing I'm plugged back in, so I encourage everyone to plug back in, get rid of your Bluetooth. It's the same frequency and magnetic field. It's just not as powerful as the phone, but it is in your head over time. So again, proximity inside your head and duration. That's where the things really get thwarted and really cause stress on the body. So get rid of that, plug back in. I also have an air tube. So there's an air tube that cuts off any extra electromagnetic field, because every wire in your house also has a electromagnetic field and frequency that it emits. Listen, every home has to drive a copper wire into the ground to ground the electricity and the electromagnetic fields into the earth, or else you'll blow up your television set, right? This is the world we're in. We just can't assimilate with the polarized radiation. The polarized is directed radiation that we created. Nature created non-polarized radiation. So it's not directly affecting us. So if we take the sun and we take a magnifying glass, this is an example, you can take that non-polarized radiation and polarize it and start something on fire, right?
Yeah.
So that's an example. We are running around with this polarized radiation all over the place. So again, keep the phone away from you, plug back in, don't keep it on you, turn your Wi-Fi router at least off at night, period. You'll sleep better, your kids will sleep better. And please, because of the research around the kids' immune system not being as strong and the thickness of their skull, the electromagnetic fields of cell phones go all the way through most kids' head. So this
That's
is
scary.
it's very scary. And
Yeah.
and this is a failure, and not our fault. This is a failure of our protected systems that are not protecting us. So we have to take that on ourselves. I still have a cell phone. I still I plug back in though. I even plug my devices back in, so I very rarely use a Wi-Fi. But there's also protective things that you can do. There's great companies I found during the research. There's a German company called WaveGuard that was an electrosensitive kid that is now an adult. And him and his dad was an engineer, and they developed technology that helps to dissipate the polarized radiation. So
Wow.
people can check out WaveGuard, and they've spent, I think, north of $2 million on research from third parties to verify and validate their testing and their safety protocols, so that because a lot of this stuff, stickers on your phone and largely all that stuff doesn't work and doesn't have real data to back it up.
I'll need to check it out. And look, there's so much that we could go into detail on. But actually, you know what? I want people to they've got their phones on them right now. If you're not driving, just order this book. It's going to be the best investment in yourself, in your family, your community. Get a couple of copies. I'll put a link in there. But Darin, I don't think this is our last conversation, but I've got one last question I want to ask you before we wrap up. And that is, if we were to fast forward way into the future, and you know that it's your last day here on Earth, you're highly aware this is it, and a very young person that you really care deeply about, they come walking into the room and they ask you this question: hey, Darin, how do I go about leading my life on purpose? What would you say to them?
Wow, that is a question. Well, I have a couple different, the unfoldment of life is that every day I feel I still learn more about myself. So the advice that I would give is be very proud of who you are now. Um, any desire that you have that is not hurting anybody or yourself, put as much energy into that in every moment. And if it changes, then put everything you have into that and just continue to pursue your passion based on saying yes today, now, because you cannot know your purpose or passion unless you acknowledge the moment right now, what you love and what you care about. And it has nothing to do with building a business, but doing this and making money, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff comes later. I think the biggest thing to do is like, what do you love now, and pour your heart and soul into it. As long as it's not hurting you, animals, the planet, and other people, put everything possible into it. And the doors that open as a result of that will blow your mind and will create a a golden path that is 100% unique to you and not anyone else's. Follow that path, and that will bring you the greatest joy, the greatest peace, and the greatest fulfillment ever.
That's beautiful. I asked that question to every single guest, so hundreds of incredible people. And I have to say, that one really landed with me. I really resonated with that, Darin. So I just want to thank you for the work that you do, the passion that you have for people, planet, animals. It's inspiring. So a huge thank you.
Thank you, brother. It's been great to have this time with you, James.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the content today, please smash that subscribe button below. And if you want to become part of my community, I've got an amazing free Facebook group. Please come and join us. The link is in the description below. And also, if you've got any questions about today's session, I'd love to know. Just comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you guys. Have the most amazing day.